Hello learners, in this unit on painting, we shall focus on the concept of aesthetics in Indian paintings, the evolution of Indian paintings as well as the distinction of Indian paintings with European paintings. India has a very rich tradition of paintings. In the earlier period, paintings were mostly concerned with religious myths and society was also amply presented. However, in the later works, we find lot of paintings related to court life. In both cases, the religious institutions and the royal courts patronized the artist. The main objective of the discussion is to highlight the distinctive features of paintings, though it is not possible for us to take into account all schools and centers of painting which flourished in India, but we will try to understand the differences between the Western and the European paintings from the Indian paintings and the exclusiveness of Indian paintings that attract a large number of cultural tourists. Now let us understand the concept of aesthetics. The art of painting is the expression of ideas and emotions with the creation of certain aesthetic qualities in a two-dimensional visual language. The element of this language is its shape, lines, colors, tones and textures which are used in various ways to produce sensation of volume, space, movements and light on a flat surface. These elements are combined into expressive patterns in order to represent real or supernatural phenomena or to interpret a narrative theme or to create an abstract visual relationship. The artist communicates his message in terms of his painting qualities and expresses the emotions with the limitations of particular medium, technique and form. Earlier, cultural traditions of tribes, religion, guild, royal courts and states largely controlled the paintings, images and the subject matter associated with it. These also determined its functions, whether ritualistic, devotional, decorative, entertaining or educational. Painters were employed more as a skilled artisan by the royal courts. Later on, in Far East and the Renaissance in Europe saw the emergence of fine artists with the social status of scholar and courtier who was assigned a work, who decided its own designs and its subjects and images. These artists established a more personal, amicable relationship with their patrons. During the 19th century, the painters in the Western society began to lose a social position and secure patronage, and they could reach to the audience only through commercial galleries and public museums, which eventually expanded its audience base. He was assisted by financial awards and commissions from the industry and gained freedom to invent his own visual language and experiment with unconventional material and techniques. So, we find that in terms of the evolution of painting in India and Europe, there is a marked distinction in terms of the subject matter of painting as well as the various styles associated with it. Now, let us discuss more about aesthetics. The issue is what is to be painted, how it is to be painted, why it has to be painted. So, it focused on the issues of aesthetics. There are different views concerning the questions raised above, and we can delineate on these questions and come up with the understanding and meaning of the term aesthetics. Aesthetics has often been defined more specifically as the science of a beautiful, organized body of knowledge covering a special field of subject matter. The discipline called aesthetics may be described broadly as the study of the beauty and to a lesser extent its opposite, the ugly. It may include general or theoretical studies of the art, and the related type of experiences such as those of philosophy of art, psychology and sociology of art. The word is emphasized because it's a specialized area of study related to a particular work of art, and the artist is not regarded as an aesthetic sense unless and until he has his own style of painting. So, aesthetic is a philosophy, it may be considered as a discipline, and this discipline undertakes the study of art in a very intellectual and logical way. Since craftsmanship is a purposeful activity, it appears that the viewer is more apt to judge the art by some presumed purpose, while artists judge it in terms of what transcends any presumed purpose. So, this concept determines what is included in the field of art, the artistic value of the art and the purpose of art. The focus is that the work of art cannot be understood by the manifest functions that they have been specifically intended to perform. Whether the functions are related to the social aspect or they are related to the generalized system of society, the focus of the painting should be that it serves both psychological and cultural functions. The autonomy of art from the social environment has its own consequences. If we accept any good design that can be judged by its aesthetic function, in this case, aesthetic function is the cultural related psychological feeling which is not governed by any intention. So, in total, when we sum up the concept of aesthetic function, we must take into consideration that first, it is a professional activity and it arises from the self consciousness of an individual. Second, the painter must be ready to perform various functions. It is not only specialized, but it is also based on particular set of circumstances. It must remain generalized to some extent, but it must have new innovative features also. The survival over times and perhaps the artistic quality of the work depends on the number of functions they effectively perform. If we have a wide aesthetic range, then the work of the art function is more precisely very relevant for its producers and for the society. Therefore, we must appreciate the aesthetic value of the painting, which depends on the consciously unrecognized functions also. Painting is a work of art, it is a performing activity and functions effectively in all culture. The interpretation of painting should be viewed as a struggle against the social issues and the contemporary challenges faced by the society. Now, let us understand the concept and the context of Indian paintings. Much of the Indian paintings are focused on the religious form in terms of their content. Countless myths and legends are represented as subject matter, such as the ancient heroes of Lord Krishna and his devotees. There was a willingness on the part of the artist, rulers and public to accept the fantastic representation of the supernatural, as in the case of several arms of Lord Shiva, a major Hindu deity. An emphasis was placed upon mystic symbolism in the art, including painting. On the whole, within an extensive culture such as Greek or Indian, the painting art tend to develop first partly for magical and religious purposes. We had theoretical discussions and philosophical discussions available in various works which focus on the aim and standards of painting. Indian theories of aesthetics focus on the realm of sensory experience as mere illusions. Indian artists continue to employ sensory material and display them for others. They focused on supernatural powers The paintings reflect a divine character. And another concept of this art is mystic symbolism. In its ordinary usage, the word symbolism refers to the practice of using a familiar image, such as a lion, to mean something very different, such as the abstract quality of courage. In India, the figure of dancing Shiva is well known as a symbol of that god, a figure that signifies the cosmic rhythm of creation and destruction, as symbolizes by the drum or a damru, with emphasis on fire. Now, let us move to the second aspect of Indian aesthetic flavor, which is associated with the theory of rasa or ras in Hindi. In the psychology of art, an integral part of modern aesthetics is the theory of rasa or aesthetic flavor. This has been observed by the Western psychologists also, and they have focused that Indian paintings were more in terms of the inner individual subjective experience. The Indian philosophers have also analyzed the painting and highlighted the importance of ras in the total experience of creating and appreciating the art, especially the visual art. So, there are various kind of rasas, and the ingredients of the rasas are felt and cultivated through these traditions, which enhances the value of painting. The theory of rasa was first proclaimed by a mystic sage priest Bharata and was later developed by Abhinav Gupta. It was used in explaining the forms, techniques and variety of poetry and visual arts. Bharata listed the principal feeling of human nature as delight, laughter, sorrow, anger, heroism, fear, disgust and astonishment. These were transformed through paintings into various rasas such as comic, furious, terrible, marvelous and calm qualities, which can be analyzed after going through the various paintings. Bharata interpreted the power to feel and understand the rasas as a reward for the painters and the artists. Now, let us now discuss the various general characteristics of Indian paintings. Moved by the charm of nature around him, painters in India have expressed their appreciation of the work of art produced by them. So, this goes back to the time when we had the primitive civilization. Art had a strong influence. The earliest paintings of the prehistoric age is in the caves all over the world, which give us a magnificent example of the observant eyes and the trained hands in the early part of civilization. The colors chosen, the movements penetrated and the expressions of the paintings make a lot of sense, and in India we have the famous paintings of Ajanta. The prehistoric cave paintings in India also give us a picture of life of those far off days of early man in India. We find that painting developed and evolved into new forms during the time of Guptas. It was a great experience that Kalidas expresses, and like music, like art, painting had an important aspect in terms of the overall cultural activities during those time periods. In India, the art of painting is very attractive, and basically we have also incorporated the concept of portrayal. It is best in India in terms of figure in the round style chaitya. We have the paintings resembling sculpture in Chitrabhasa. The term Chitrabhasa indicates that the aim is to portray some kind of a modeling to suggest depth in painting. Emotions portrayed in paintings and pictures are best illustrated by masterpieces such as Mother and Child before Buddha, or Subjugation of Nalagiri from Ajanta. They effectively present Karuna Sutra and also focus on various events such as stampede of the elephant at Nalagiri and how the furious animal lie humble at the feet of the master. The Vishnu Dharma Mutra has specifically suggested various techniques in the element of art of painting. Different methods are suggested with reference to aspects of nature. So, we find paintings related to rishis hurrying for a bath or to suggest a daybreak. We have paintings of animals or aquatic beings related to sensation for water. We have paintings related to overcast sky and white cranes flying in the sky to signify the rainy season. Paintings related to pleasant flowers, decked forests and gardens help us to recall spring. Paintings which focus on travelers oppressed by heat and are greatly fatigued suggest summer season. So, all these scenes are carefully painted and are understood by the spectators in order to appreciate the meaning of the picture, and especially the miniature paintings of India portray number of such scenes related to Nayak and Nayikas. Therefore, learners, we have studied that the Indian art is based on the ancient aesthetic theory of ras, or in essence, which refers to the finest quality of an object. This also refers to the emotional qualities crafted into the work of art by the maker and the response, the contemplation and the perception of the viewers. So, it is a viewer response theory. Rasas are created by bhava or state of mind, and this concept of rasa has its origin in the Indian paintings. The emphasis is always on the spectator, and the artwork or the performer only serves as a mean for the viewer to experience the different rasas. Therefore, Indian paintings are having a narrative mode which predominates, and then it gradually unfolds into various areas, and you find them paint them on walls and even on buildings. Indian paintings provide an aesthetic appeal that extends from the early civilization to present day. This form of art in India is vivid, lively, sophisticated and vigorous. Essentially religious in purpose and beginning, the paintings have evolved over the years to become a fusion of various traditions which influence them. Another important aspect of Indian painting is murals. During the 4th century AD, in a remote valley in western India, work began on Ajanta caves to create a complex of Buddhist monasteries and prayer halls. The monks who lived there during the months of rain also took up a noble exercise of painting large murals on the walls of the caves. The walls and the ceilings were painted with frescoes in vibrant colors. These paintings turned out to be of a quality which is of global standards. The theme of these wall paintings range from Buddhist legends to decorative patterns of flowers and animals. They depict human values and principles and also record the social texture of the time. After this, the golden age of India under the Mauryan Empire was marked by luxurious living and splendor. The Ajanta murals were painted during this time also. These murals also formed the basis of an entire aesthetic tradition which later spread to other countries in Asia. Versatility of line and form, role of color, composition are enduring features of this art forms. These paintings create a feeling of joy and wonder. The viewer is basically so delighted that he is in another state of consciousness where sound and light and colors are fused into one separate reality. In terms of aesthetics, the next important feature of Indian painting is miniature. The essence of Indian miniature painting is in the idea of symbolism. The language of symbols are recorded in connection with nature. It's rich in wonder, and the mind is excelled in expressing what lay beyond the primary functions of line and pigments. So, these colors are the ones which represent the aesthetic value of Indian paintings. Miniature generally refers to a painting or illumination small in size, meticulous in detail, and delicate in brushwork. The art of palm leaf illuminations were traditionally labeled as a patra lekhan in medieval Indian text, but later the generalized term patra chitra was conveniently used to define other kinds of paintings rather than the wall paintings. This also included painting panels. These pictorial articulate versions of art first made their appearance in the Indian cultural scene in 5th century. The artist drew his inspiration from a musical text called Narada Shikha. However, other than this text also, there are a number of texts available which focus on the relationship between the artist and the painters who focused on sounds and sentiments. This art form generated into a dynamic movement and was given patronage by royal courts. So, we have lots and lots of variations and developments in this form of painting. These paintings also depict the court life of the time when they were created, the architecture of land, as well as the various faces and expressions of humans. So, we find paintings appreciating the social and religious changes of different times. So, in spite of number of schools of painting, there is a diffusion. The Persian influence upon the Indian folk paintings is another remarkable development, and we have new schools such as School of Mewar in Udaipur, which came up and focused on the desert landscape and lifestyle. Now, let us move to folk paintings. It's somehow a less known tradition of Indian painting. Again, it dates back to the ancient period. These paintings are related with living traditions. They focus on the religious, historical, cultural settings. Now, when we are discussing about aesthetics in paintings, with the arrival of British, Indian painting took a new turn. This period saw the emergence of an Indo-European style of painting known as the company style of painting. With the rise of political consciousness, again painting grew, and the two prominent names which figured in the 20th century Indian art are Amrita Shergill, a woman trained in Paris, and Rabindranath Tagore. In this period, the Indians were not only striving for political independence, but they were also liberating themselves from the traditional mindset and the social stereotype. So, the paintings of this era depicts the newly emergent social consciousness. After independence, number of new art schools were set up. The most prominent of this is the Progressive Art Group. So, we had a number of prominent artists. Painting took a new form in this period, which was basically focused on the contemporary issues. Ghulam Muhammad Sheikh, Bhupen Kakkar and Sundaram are some of the names that were prominent as far as the contemporary scenes were concerned. Again, they focused on the human conditions of modern India. So, learners, we have understood in this video that Indian paintings are different from other forms of painting. Let us quickly discuss the Indian and European aesthetic sense. In terms of the aesthetic value, Indian paintings possess a very distinct nature. Symbolism in Eastern painting is intended to deepen the experience of a picture, mood. However, much of Indian symbolism is based on the religious images such as snakes, or it is basically based on the mythological characters of the various Hindu gods. The color schemes of the setting generally reflect the narrative emotional mood. For example, we have dark blue, cloud skies, we have purple, black shades, red shades which express patterns and passion for love or war. Western symbolic system is more intellectually directed. Their images have precise literal meaning and their color codes are intended primarily for narrative purposes. So, in this video we have studied that Indian paintings are based on certain concepts of aesthetics, and in this concept the focus is more on the rasa and the bhava. The paintings have evolved over a period of time based on the social challenges and the patronage received from the royal court. I hope you have understood the concept of aesthetics in Indian paintings. Thank you.